Hello, wonderful friends. It's time once again for a story. With me. I don't know who else it would be with, but hi. It's a special story, mainly because I just realized who it's from. It's from our wonderful friend River. And this is called A Conventional Job Filled with Unconventional People. A story from approximately 4 years ago. That's a hell of a title. I'm excited to see where this goes. So, without further ado, let's just get right into it. Hello, my dearest and beautiful family, who I am so lucky to be a part of. Moon and Sango, you both are such incredible and wonderful people, and I can't thank you enough. Oh, well, we love you too. Please remember, sweet and lovely people who are listening and reading, you are important and loved, and you are never ever alone, no matter how difficult things get. That's very true. That's why this family is the best. When I first moved to where I live now, I took a job as a fundraiser for a non-profit organization. My duties were a little beyond fundraising, but it was basic entry-level position that helped me get started out. I met a lot of very kind and interesting people, and for that, I was lucky. Not everyone gets to experience that after moving to a new place, especially when it comes to a job environment. When I was younger, a teenager, I was told that no matter what job I get, all of my employers would care about whether or not I was making them money. The narrative changed to a running joke that goes like this: you don't get hired, you get adopted. Essentially, that's how it's always been. My fundraising job has its fair share of conflict, though. I'll be focusing on my coworkers for the most part of the purposes of this story. An important thing to know about this job is that we divided into teams for work, and those teams changed every day. One of them that I was reminded of somehow, I'm not sure how, was someone I gradually became good friends with over time. We bonded over an interest in fashion and being queer. However, his life took a turn, and not for the better. Oh, jeez. I don't know the whole story, but I started noticing things when he was part of the team. I was my team lead and had assigned everyone their task. During the day, this coworker was behaving strangely and constantly wanting to talk to me as I was trying to get my work done. He outright didn't do his work for that day, telling me he just wanted to talk to me and felt like I understood him best. If this weren't during work hours, I would have devoted more time to helping him, but I felt a lump in my stomach that I get when there's a red flag that I just can't name. I don't know if that makes sense. The other team member I had took me aside during our break and told me to watch out, saying that she suspected my friend to possibly have been drunk. Oh, that's not good. I didn't notice this and didn't want to work off of a speculation, but the next day he was part of a different team. On that day, from what I heard, his behavior was much more noticeable. That is to say, he was drunk and had brought a lot with him in Gatorade bottles with the labels taken off. Yeah, that's not good. That's a bad. Management was told and he was dismissed. I felt awful for him because I knew things were difficult. Not much about the environment of the job changed after he left, and I didn't know about him being fired until a few days after it happened. A woman who was on their team saw the bottles and told me about it after I mentioned his name in casual conversation, wondering about what had happened to him. One of the kindest people from that group was a man who, for the most of the time that I'd been working there, had his arm in a sling from an accident. I don't remember the particulars, but it was pretty bad. He always took things in stride, though, and I never minded his company. We're in a team together one day with another coworker who was talking to us about how we weren't unionized, but we should be, and you should be. The kind man talked about how unions can be hit or miss, and that his uncle had taught him that. He went on to say something that, until then, I hadn't known, but he said that this was the problem that needed to be addressed first. It wasn't something the organization overall did, it was a specific office that made this choice. This kind man knew because he ran payroll as well. The model had changed from basic commissions of the funds we managed to get our commissions depending on who made the most and who made the least. Our salary was a contest, and a lot of people suffered because of this. Yeah, that's pretty fucked up. What neither of us knew was the idea of a union was about to spread through the office and become more of a point of contention. Since I had started graduate school, this job was no longer a good fit for me, and I was looking for a new job, and it was incredibly difficult with all that I had to do. That was the reason I gave for leaving. I was starting to see more and more the evidence of corruption in that specific office. I would rush into a job that ordered greater flexibility. The company was a mother and a son, and they both adopted as opposed to hired me at first, but that's another story that's a little more involved. On that day, I went to pick up my last paycheck about a week after I left. I was met outside by a lot of my friends who came to give me hugs, insisted on pinching my cheeks, and wished me well. They also said that things went out of control after I left, but not because I had left. It was because of a lot of the office was looking to unionize, and people were starting to take action. I would run into friends from that job afterwards in areas close to campus, and they were struggling. Eventually, everyone was hell-bent on unionizing, was forced to drop and leave the office. I don't miss that job, but some of the coworkers from there kept in contact and are still my friends to this day. Here's the thing. I worked there a good part of a year and had no idea what was going on behind the scenes for a long time. I don't know if all of them are alright, but I really hope they are. Right now, professionally, I'm doing much better and have taken so much into my own hands. It took a lot for me to be able to reach that point, and I've learned, unlearned, and relearned so much from that time to now. In all of the mayhem that has been my professional life, I've been looking for purpose, and I found it in books. You all have been such incredible support system to me along the way, and I don't know what I would have done without you all. I love you guys so very much. Your very busy friend, River. Well, that is some interesting stories. Let's start with the first one. Working with someone who is heavily under the influence. Yeah, I've been there. Back when I used to work construction, we had this foreman on a job who, names of course will be left out, decided one morning to show up completely hammered. He's the foreman, okay, so he's supposed to be in charge, and he went to sleep in the truck until we left. So it was myself and one of my other coworkers who were responsible for getting all of the work done that day. And we had to make excuses for him because if he got fired, we all did. It was really not a great situation, and I would love to say that this was a one-time thing, but it was pretty regular with a lot of the crew that I worked with at the time. I don't think I have to be the one to explain this to you. I'm sure a lot of you, especially those of you who work in construction, know this. Alcohol and drug abuse isn't exactly an uncommon thing. It's not everyone, obviously. And there's a lot of very, very good workers out there, but there's definitely that guy, and we all know that guy. It was not a great situation, but eventually that job, just kind of dried up and left. That job, haha, I can talk. As for the rest of it, considering the way that River was talking about the salary system, where it seemed like everybody had to compete in order to get, this higher thing, that's a little messed up. Yeah, that's, no, you really shouldn't be doing that. You should be paying your people fairly and not docking them because somebody else makes more. If you can't, do the thing, if you can't offer the right salary to the right people, don't do that. Yeah, it sucks. Some people will probably get paid better at other places, but if you're not going to be fair about it, then why are you doing it? This will probably be one of those things that gets me in a little bit of trouble, but the idea of people trying to unionize in order to make a fair and balanced thing in that company, I support that. I'm actually all in favor of workers bonding together in order to make sure that their rights and their views and their safety, specifically their safety in a lot of places, is respected. Now, there's a lot of problems with certain unions, I know. My parents were both cops, and the police union in one of the places they worked at was not exactly the best. However, some of the other places where they worked did not have unions, and that was the time where they worked even harder for not nearly as much pay as they could have gotten. A lot of police officers are paid on what's called, time and authority. So if you've been with the department, not necessarily the specific department, but in law enforcement in general, for a long time, you tend to get paid better even if you switch departments. However, that's not a guarantee. And sometimes they have specific ways about doing things. Like, when we moved here, I was in high school, and my mom was a detective, and she could have joined the department in this town, but chose not to because it never would have been the same as where she worked before. Not just a different environment, but they absolutely would not be able to meet the pay grade that she definitely qualified for. And that is a thing, that's like a huge thing that's kind of pushed, not just behind police unions, but a lot of different unions, is open and fair exchange between those in charge and those who are working there. Like, for example, I don't have a problem if, doing this stuff for YouTube, if YouTube would actually give me a breakdown, a full breakdown of like, okay, you only get X amount this month, this is why, and explain like, we have to do so much for advertisers, we have to do so much for this, we have to do so much for that. I may have issues with certain things, but at least I'd be able to voice them and understand where they're coming from. But I don't have that at all. I don't know what exactly the metric is, and that frustrates me. Because it's one thing if you can see what's happening and you can explain it, but it's another thing if it's all just like magical nonsense, which is 100% what happens a lot here. It's the reason why people have talked about creating, entertainers unions specifically for platforms like this. I have no idea how you would even do that, but it's a neat idea. Somebody smarter than me can figure it out. And yes, there is a potential that, a union can be abused and used badly. However, that's not the intent. So, for one thing to go bad, and then to say, like, the whole thing is bad, is really to buy into the kind of, mindset that those super rich bosses want you to have. They want you to constantly fight against things that would represent your own rights, because it benefits them if you don't know how and when you'll get your money. It's very much a thing like that. I always hear about how union dues are a problem. I would rather lose $10 out of my paycheck to know exactly what my rights are than keep that extra $10. But maybe that's just me. I went off on a little bit of a tangent, but thank you, River, for your wonderful story, because it let this happen. I'm probably going to get in trouble in the comments, and I'm sorry, but, being the guy I am, this is kind of how I think. If you disagree, that's fine, you can do whatever you want, it's your life. I'm just a unicorn on the internet, I can't exactly tell you what you should and should not do, unless it's like really extreme stuff. Like, don't blow yourself up, that would be bad. But, with all that being said, that's the end of this video. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Again, it does something, but YouTube won't tell me what, so okay. If you would like to support this channel, I have a merch shop, which has all kinds of crazy stuff in it. And I have a Ko-Fi, which I'm adding weird goals to. One of them is that I'll buy terrible, very heterosexual soaps to be a manly man. King Cobra talks about them and swears they work. I don't think that's true, but I'm willing to find out. If you have your own story, you can send it to my subreddit, r/Moonhorse Stories, and I'll see it. Well, that's it for this video, and do be careful out there, everybody. The world's a weird and crazy place, more so now. But I love you all so very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, everybody.